Arezzo is a very old town. The first, let's say, settlement here in Arezzo dates back to 3,000 years ago. So we are talking about Etruscan people and then the Romans and so on. So we definitely have a lot of history to talk about. My name is Lucio Bianchi. I'm the Student Services Coordinator here at OU in Arezzo, and so what I do is actually the cultural mediator. Being part of this town means being a citizen first, so also a sort of ambassador, especially for foreign cultures, since my path, again, it's cultural mediation and foreign languages. What I want to try is trying to inform the world about what is Arezzo, what we can share with the rest of the world. I kind of know a little bit the history of specifically one neighborhood, which is the oldest one. It's col citrone in Aretino, in the local dialect, which is Porta Crucifera, so the red and green one. And this is the oldest neighborhood because it was the very first core of Arezzo from which then the city expanded. By that time, it didn't even have the name of Porta Crucifera. It acquired this name when the city started to grow, and in this way they started also to differentiate the neighborhoods, the city in two different neighborhoods, which were 5 in the beginning, and then now we have just 4 of them. They are sort of presides for social activities, such as what happens with the Palio in Siena, for example. They carry out throughout the year social activities, and so especially for young people they are very important because in this way again they can have it's a sort of association in which the people and especially youngsters can do volunteer activities and trying to keep the their quarter like in a good shape. My feeling is that more or less the identity of the different neighborhoods are the same, in the sense that the kind of activities are the same, what they do, the kind of things that they carry out, not just throughout the year, but specifically for during the week before the parade and the Saracen Joust are the same. So the dinners, concerts, and exhibitions, and all these kind of things. Really, they fight against each other because it's part of the reenactment. As you might know a little bit of the history of the Saracino Joust, the first writings that we have about the Saracino Joust, they date back to the 15th century. And then what happened is that throughout the time it was just a reenactment that in Arezzo was carried out whenever important figures were coming to Arezzo, such as like kings, dukes, and so on. And then throughout the time it was it had become something less and less important until it disappeared completely on the 17th century, more or less. Then what happened is that with fascism and Mussolini, 1931, if I'm not getting wrong, since Mussolini was trying again to recreate an Italian identity and giving to each town a proper identity, such as Arezzo has a medieval identity, let's say, he tried to put an effort and revitalize, have the Joust come alive again. I feel that in general Italians, and so including local people from Arezzo, we are so accustomed to have history all around us that most of the times, too often, I would say, we just don't care too much about what we have. The Joust, apart from being a reenactment, it's also a sport event. That's why people are really into it, and they are really a profound passion for it. And so in a way, rediscovering traditions throughout the use of sport events is a very good way, at least in my opinion, to again make the history important, because it's a way for, especially for younger people, to let them understand how important it is, and often they study also the history of the Joust, for example. So in this way, it's I think it's an appropriate mean for the people to really understand part of their identity. The Saracen Joust is held in Arezzo twice a year, one in June and one in September. It is a big week, especially for the quartieristi, so of those people belonging to a certain neighborhoods, the supporters, let's say, because they have every single day rehearsals for the parade, for the music, and for the event itself before the Joust. Because as you might know, each neighborhood has a huge dinner to wish good luck to his neighborhood the day before the Joust. And throughout the times, these dinners have become really huge. They started with few people, and nowadays they really close the streets, and they make them pedestrian because they have to set tables. Last time in Santo Spirito they had more than 1,000 people for dinner in just one neighborhood. So, and plus the concert and all these kind of things. So they have to set up with all volunteer actions. That's why the volunteers and the supporters for their neighborhood are very important. It's very difficult to say which is the most important role, because it's really a community event. And so without having so many people working behind the scenes, the Saraceno Joust just won't happen. And there are important roles such as the speaker, for example, who tells the scores every time, which is one of the symbolic figures, let's say, of the Joust itself.
Città di Arezzo, bando! Gli onorevoli messeri, reggitori della nobilissima città di Arezzo, invitano tutti della città e del felicissimo contado.
But also the judges are very important. The knights who fight are very important. Those people who stop the puppet from spinning are very important. So again, it's important to create a synergy in between all these different characters in order to have really a good high quality event. Whenever there is one free spot, there is like a huge fight among the people because they want to be in it. Also those people who play the band obviously are definitely very important characters. The majority of them are musicians from Arezzo. The flag wavers, they travel all around the world to take Arezzo and the history of the Saraceno Joust out of our medieval walls, let's say. They really travel a lot. Last time, if I'm not getting wrong, they were in Japan talking about it. So again, it's a community effort. And for each Joust, there is a different golden lance, which is a trophy. So instead of winning like a cup or things like that, they win a trophy. And in fact, if you go to the museum of each neighborhood, because the neighborhood has, every neighborhood has his own museum, and they have exposed, obviously displayed all the golden lances that they have won throughout the years. And those golden lances are handmade by an artisan from Arezzo, who is the specialist of the golden lance. He's a woodcrafter, and so he actually shapes the golden lance according to the president of the Saracino Joust, who is also the person that represents the whole all the neighborhoods, not just one. And so, according to the president of the Joust, they realize a different lands every time, and they dedicate the lands to somebody. So it could be like a musician in past times such as Giuseppe Verdi. It could be the Madonna del Conforto, who is one of the most important symbol of Arezzo. So depending on what they wanna support, let's say, they change the theme that is represented in the Golden Lens. Passion is the most appropriate, I would say, because again, it really touches the hearts of people.
Giallo blu, cantiamo tutti in coro, vinceremo proprio noi la lancia d'oro.
And so, as every other sport event, the Joust is something that allows people to gather around a certain subject. And so, again, creating a strong identity, especially for the different neighborhoods. What happens when a neighborhood wins is that a flood of people start to come down from the bleachers and invade the square and the track where the horses are running and things like that. And then everybody like shouting and crying and showing the Golden Lens. They start to go up to the cathedral where they are blessed by the bishop. And that's the only time in which Arezzo sees horses inside the cathedral, because the horses go into the cathedral as well to be blessed.